Jay, Toya Graham, you've seen the video, I've seen the video, we know the backstory. Is this the woman, the face of society of a generation that's crying out for guidance, for discipline, for a foundation?
I think it is. I mean, a lot of people, a lot of social commentators have talked about the effects of fatherless homes. And Toya Graham is, I mean, in many ways, she resonated with so many Americans because I think it's what people are crying out for. She is, as we learned, is a single mom of six, but took it upon herself to say, oh, there's my son doing something he ought not to do. And went after it. The fact that she ended up on video is a sort of happy coincidence, but it does allow us to focus on what I think is a key issue. Yes, I think I live close to Baltimore, and there's no doubt in my mind there are injustices. The police department's probably dysfunctional. But 60 or 70 years ago, when our society was a lot more racist, when we had segregation, you didn't even have things like this happening then. And so it's hard to imagine that it's worse now. So why is it that we have events like we've had, in the last few days in Baltimore? I think at least one of the causes is a general lack of fathers and father figures. I mean, we know now that among blacks in urban areas, about 70% of children are born out of wedlock. This isn't just a black thing. If you go to white Appalachia, it's exactly the same problem.
Right.
It's just that we don't have cameras in white Appalachia, so nobody sees that.
It crosses cultural lines. It crosses color lines. You make an excellent point there. You know what, Jay? Look, I'm a staunch proponent of it takes a village. It begins at home. I think we can blame the police to some extent. We can point the finger at bad influences to some extent. My concern is, what about the accountability at home? What about setting examples and setting down these basic principles?
I think that's the exact right question, because the truth of the matter is, absolutely, we need uncles, we need neighbors. Kids pick up things and learn things from their peers and from teachers. But the primary teacher, the primary institution by which human beings are created and either raised properly or not, is in the home. And we know that on all sorts of indicators, whether it be criminal activity, dropping out of school, drug use, those things are a lot worse for kids that don't have a father around in particular than for those kids who have a father in the home. In fact, we know the number one predictor of childhood poverty is whether a child grows up with a father in his or her home or not. That's just a huge statistic. It doesn't mean married families are everything, but all things being equal, all children, all human beings of the human race are better off having a mother and father if they can.
The numbers don't lie. The statistics don't lie. You make an excellent point there. Look, I think as people of faith, Jay, we have an advantage. We turn to scripture. We hear the words of Pope Francis encouraging us, urging us, and sometimes getting on us if he feels that we are not living up to the virtues of Catholicism. Is that what many people are missing, do you think?
A lot of us are missing that. And I was honestly, I live in the DC area, and I had a colleague at the Stream that actually went up to Baltimore when all this was happening. And she visited some prayer vigils. And those were the sort of bright spots, is right in those neighborhoods where we were seeing all those things play out on TV, there were churches. One, of course, as we know, was burned down, but there were prayer services and people praying to God and coming together. And so it really sort of dark moments like this, I think it's an opportunity for us as believers to show the difference that this can make.
I think you and I, Jay, are good at looking at the realities of it. I mean, we do have problems, we do have issues, there are challenges in the world, which is not to say the protests are not effective or should not be, but there are other forms of relaying this type of information. Now, you say you live close to the area. What are you hearing? What are you understanding about the way people want to just tackle these issues other than rioting and looting and pulling their hair out about it?
Well, honestly, I mean, the prayer services that we've seen, and in the last couple of days in Baltimore, there have been just ordinary citizens, like the men that we saw standing between the protesters and the police. We need to see more of that. And the reality is, that's what 95% of the people in Baltimore are actually doing anyway. We're seeing a small percentage of the population. It's just unfortunate, but even 5% of the population protesting and burning things down and throwing rocks at police can create havoc. And the problem is it ends up creating a distraction, so that if there are any real problems that need to be dealt with, either with the police or with the city government in Baltimore, we forget that and we sort of focus on the street theater. And I think that's unfortunate.
In your book, Indivisible, I mention that all the time. I look to it as a guide for just some, parenting measures. And, again, it takes a village. In the last 30 seconds we have, Jay, just tell us one more time exactly what you think is just missing in the fiber of society.
I think it's the fundamental institution of the human race, which is the family. I mean, people can endure all sorts of hardship and persecution if they have that basic unit of society. If mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters and mentors are able to do their job, people can overcome. But when that basic unit of society, the family, completely breaks down, everything else breaks down, as we're seeing.
All right, Jay, thank you so much. As always, I could talk to you forever, but we are bound by time. Thank you for joining us. And of course, we're happy to have you back anytime.
My pleasure.
Thank you.